You are not as in control of your own mind as you believe, and the people around you are secretly writing its code. We cherish a comforting myth that our inner world, our thoughts, resilience, and ambitions is a fortress built solely by our own hands. We imagine we are the sole authors. But biology, psychology, and even mathematics tell a different story. We are not isolated fortresses. We are open networks. Science speaks of mirror neurons, brain cells that allow us to feel what others feel. This is the foundation of empathy, the bond of society. Yet it is also our greatest point of exposure. The individuals you permit into your closest sphere are not passive observers. They are co-authors of your mental blueprint. When you converse with someone, you are not just trading words, you are trading states of being. If they are stressed, your own stress hormones spike. If they are pessimistic, your brain's reward system for new possibilities dims. You are, in a very real sense, letting others regulate your nervous system. The Stoic philosophers sensed this peril millennia before brain scans could illustrate it. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor and thinker, wrote of the inner citadel, a mental stronghold to be guarded without fail. He understood that a life of virtue, calm, and purpose was impossible if you left the gates swinging open for anyone carrying chaos and decay. Yet in our modern lives, we frequently lack this vigilance. Our social circles often form by chance, not by choice. We cling to bonds out of routine, a confused sense of duty, or simply the fear of the quiet that follows a goodbye. We sail through existence, collecting companions like debris on a ship's hull, not realizing this weight creates drag, slows our progress, and can ultimately veer us wildly off our destined path. Research into social networks reveals something startling. Traits like wellness, anxiety, and even habits are contagious, spreading through webs of connection several layers deep. This implies that the gloomy friend of a friend can statistically influence your own mood. It questions our notion of free will. It suggests you are not just an individual, but a point within a vast web, and the vitality of that point depends heavily on the health of the threads connected to it. If this is true, and evidence strongly indicates it is, then carefully choosing your social environment is not a shallow act of curation. It is perhaps the most vital choice you will make for your mental and physical well-being. It is an act of self-preservation. So we must pose a hard question if our time is limited. As Seneca reflected in On the Shortness of Life, why do we waste so much of it tending to the dysfunctions of other people? Why do we choose to drink from wells we know are tainted? Today, we explore the practice of social pruning. We will identify specific patterns of human behavior, recognizable, distinct, and deeply damaging archetypes. These are not necessarily evil people. Many are fighting private battles, but they are individuals whose patterns of interaction are fundamentally at odds with your growth, your peace, and your pursuit of meaning. We will see who they are, how they operate on your psyche, and why, for the sake of your own untapped potential, you must find the strength to create distance. This is about reclaiming authorship of your own mind. Our first archetype is common and deceptively hazardous, the perpetual pessimist, often called the energy drain. A crucial distinction: a friend in genuine distress is not who we mean. True companionship requires us to stand with others in their pain. That is empathy. The perpetual pessimist operates differently. For them, negativity isn't a reaction to circumstance, it's a worldview. They see life through a lens of perpetual victimhood, where everything is done to them. They come not for solutions or perspective, but for an emotional dumping ground. The cost is biological. Constant exposure to anxiety or anger means your brain, via mirror neurons, simulates those states. You contract their emotions. Studies in stress physiology show that secondary stress floods your system with cortisol. Simply hearing an hour of complaint bathes your brain's memory and learning centers in toxins. You are degrading your own cognitive machinery. Philosophically, enduring this is often a failure of self-respect disguised as compassion. We think we're being kind by listening. The Stoics would say we lack the discipline to guard our inner citadel. By letting someone repeatedly disrupt your peace without requiring them to take ownership, you aren't aiding them. You are enabling a cycle of powerlessness. You validate the idea that grumbling is a valid life strategy. Seneca wrote that we guard our property fiercely, yet let others trespass on our time, our most finite asset, with ease. Every hour spent in this vortex of recycled negativity is an hour stolen from your growth, creativity, or from relationships that actually give back. The most compassionate act is sometimes a boundary, not an ear. Ultimately, for your sake and theirs, you must step back. You cannot rescue someone married to their misery. If victimhood is core to their identity, your solutions will be rejected. You must care for them from a distance. Establish a boundary. I value you, but I cannot be the container for your unprocessed turmoil. This silence may feel cruel, but it can be the only catalyst that makes them face their reality. By closing the gate, you preserve your energy for what you can control, and you cease being a collaborator in a life defined by grievance. Next, we meet a figure more insidious than the pessimist because their harm is often delivered as protection or realism, the dream extinguisher, the entrenched cynic. This person, upon hearing your new ambition or fragile hope, immediately works to dismantle it. Not with rage, but with a slow, corrosive skepticism. That field is too crowded, or most attempts fail, or do you really have what it takes? On the surface, pragmatism. In frequency, it is fear, their fear projected onto the canvas of your potential. Psychologically, this mirrors the crab bucket theory. One crab can escape a bucket, a group will pull any climber back down. Your attempt to rise challenges the status quo of your peer group. Your potential success holds up a mirror to their own stagnation, proving their limits were often self-chosen. To avoid that painful reflection, the cynic ensures you never leave the bucket. They become guardians of averageness. Neuroscientifically, they sabotage your brain's motivation system. Dopamine fuels our pursuit of long-term goals. Visualizing success releases it. A cynic's doubt creates a negative prediction error, shutting that flow down. You start to link your goal with fear of shame, not the thrill of reward. Surrounded by these voices, you risk learned helplessness. Your neural pathways learn that effort is futile. History is littered with visionaries told they were fools. Had they listened, we'd lack flight, electricity, transformative art. The cynic argues from the past, obsessed with limits. The creator reaches for what's possible. You cannot explore the possible if anchored to someone terrified of leaving the familiar. This is why the wise often advise silence when starting a new path. Identify these people. Understand their skepticism as a confession of their limits, not a verdict on yours. You must leave them at base camp. The summit's view is for those who believed in the unseen. We now examine a figure operating with dark, calculated intent, the manipulator. While the pessimist drains through helplessness and the cynic through fear, the manipulator drains by design. This person sees relationships not as bonds, but transactional chess games where you are a pawn. A master of disguise, they can be charming, vulnerable, or authoritative as needed. Their defining trait: there is always a hidden price. They don't ask for favors, they engineer scenarios where you feel obligated. They weaponize your empathy using guilt and obligation to erode your boundaries until you live serving their needs. Why do we stay? The neuroscience is disturbing, centered on intermittent reinforcement. If a reward is unpredictable, obsession follows. The manipulator isn't cruel 100% of the time. They mix love bombing with cold withdrawal. This unpredictability hijacks your dopamine system. You become chemically addicted to the rare high of their approval. You walk on eggshells trying to trigger it again. Furthermore, they may use gaslighting, an assault on your reality. When confronted, they deny, twist, or claim you're too sensitive. This creates cognitive dissonance, eroding your trust in your own judgment. You become reliant on them to interpret the world. This is the ultimate loss of sovereignty. As philosopher Hannah Arendt observed, the ideal subject isn't the fanatic, but the person for whom fact and fiction have blurred. Ethically, the manipulator violates Kant's imperative: never treat people merely as means to an end. To them, you're a means, a tool, a resource. This objectification is spiritually corrosive. You cannot have genuine connection with someone who sees you as a utility. To reclaim your life, recognize this is not complex love, it is exploitation. The only way to win is to refuse to play. Cut the cord. Restore your faith in your own perception. Return to a world where no means no and kindness is given freely. We move to a quieter, corrosive presence, the envious, the one who won't applaud your victory. This is painful because they often seem like supporters until you succeed. With your failures, they offer comfort. Your stumble feels safe. With your success, a promotion, an achievement, their reaction is a study in microaggressions, a flicker of disappointment before a forced smile, a pivot to someone better, a backhanded, "You're so lucky." This signals they view your ascent as their decline. Evolutionarily, we have a hardwired zero-sum bias. In a tribe, your gain could mean my loss. For the envious, this primitive circuit is overactive. They can't see success as non-rivalrous. Your joy literally causes them neural pain. Brain scans show the pain centers activate when they see a peer succeed. To stop it, they may subtly sabotage or minimize your wins. The philosophical danger is self-diminishment. To keep peace, you start hiding your wins, downplaying ambition. You internalize that shining is dangerous tall poppy syndrome. Nietzsche wrote of resentment, a toxic resentment where the weak despise the strong for highlighting their inadequacy. The envious don't want to rise to your level, they want to pull you down to theirs. In contrast, seek those capable of mudita sympathetic joy. This requires a secure self-worth not tied to external ranking. Removing the envious isn't just removing negativity, it's removing the ceiling on your potential. It's permission to excel without guilt. It is a tragedy to lose a friend, but a greater tragedy to lose yourself by outgrowing a room that became too small. Now, a character whose toxicity is masked as bonding or insider knowledge, the gossip, the talebearer. There's a seduction here. A whispered secret triggers inclusion, a fake intimacy. But the rule is absolute. If they gossip to you, they gossip about you. Your private moments become their social currency. They are loyal to the thrill of information, not to people. Anthropologically, gossip is social grooming. Malicious gossip weaponizes it. Engaging hands your vulnerability to someone with proven indiscretion. Neuroscience shows gossip triggers reward, but also suspicion, a background anxiety that prevents deep, secure attachment. Philosophically, they fail Socrates' test. Is it true? Is it good? Is it useful? Gossip fails all three. By listening, you become complicit in eroding truth, trying people in absentia. Words shape reality. Swimming in malice makes you see enemies everywhere. Furthermore, a gossip repels high-quality people. To curate meaningful connection, you must excise them. Become a dead end for rumors. When you stop feeding them attention, they'll find another host, leaving you the silence needed for bonds based on honor, not exposure. We meet a figure who teaches a harsh lesson in reciprocity, the opportunist, the fair weather friend. Their presence is conditional on your utility, your network, time, status. They appear with perfect timing when they have a deficit. The moment you need support, they vanish. The relationship is profoundly asymmetrical. You see friendship, they see extraction. Evolutionarily, we have a cheater detection module. With an opportunist, it constantly flashes red. You keep a mental ledger that never balances. This calculation prevents relaxation. It's a bad business deal, not a relationship. Aristotle categorized friendship of utility, pleasure, and virtue. The opportunist creates a parasitic utility friendship, disguising it as virtue. This deception is the injury. It makes you feel interchangeable. When discarded, you confront that they never saw you, only your function. Your kindness is a gift to share, not a tax to be collected. We stay due to the sunk cost fallacy, hoping our next investment will finally be reciprocated. But their strategy works for them. By keeping them, you occupy a seat that could be for a true friend. Closing the door isn't malice, it's self-respect. It declares your generosity is not to be cast into a void. Next, a figure corrosive to self-esteem, often masked as brutal honesty, the constant critic. Unlike the cynic doubting the future, the critic dissects the present. They pick apart your looks, choices, path. I'm just being honest for your own good, but examine the data. No praise balances the critique. This isn't mentorship, it's a control pathology. Neuroscientifically, constant criticism activates the brain's pain centers like physical hurt. You live in a state of threat, depleting mental energy for decision-making. You internalize their voice. It becomes your inner monologue. This is the death of confidence. Psychologically, this is projection. The critic is often a perfectionist tormented by their own inner voice. By finding your flaws, they feel brief superiority. Understanding this doesn't mean you must endure. They are vomiting their self-loathing onto you. Philosophy distinguishes critique from criticism. Critique is an act of love seeking elevation. Criticism is rooted in defectiveness. If feedback leaves you smaller and ashamed, it's destructive. You cannot grow in soil constantly turned over. Distance yourself. Seek those who see your potential, who correct to help you fly, not to remind you that you might fall. We encounter a character challenging your very architecture, the boundary violator. They treat no as an opening negotiation. They show up unannounced, demand attention, ask intrusive questions, and react with shock to your limits. They frame intrusion as closeness. This is not mutual sharing, it's unilateral occupation. Psychologically, this often stems from poor emotional differentiation. They struggle to see you as a separate entity with different needs. The impact is erosion of autonomy. Unpredictable invasion keeps your nervous system in low-grade alarm. You cannot rest deeply. Over time, it breeds resentment. By yielding to keep peace, you teach them your boundaries are suggestions. Philosophically, Epictetus taught the core task is distinguishing what is ours and what is not. Allowing trampling is abdicating self-governance. Boundaries aren't walls that shut out. They are gates that let people in safely. Without them, there is no self to relate to. Dealing with the violator requires enduring their discomfort. Move from stating preferences to enforcing consequences. If you continue, I will end the conversation. It's reclaiming your territory. We face an intellectual adversary, the know-it-all, the arrogant. They assume they hold the only map of reality. Dialogue is monologue. They wait to correct, not to understand. Every interaction is a debate to win. This suffocates curiosity and nuance. Psychologically, this is often the Dunning-Kruger effect and a defense against uncertainty. They hallucinate certainty to protect a fragile ego. Being wrong feels like existential death. Neuroscientifically, they lack neuroplasticity. They filter out contradictory information, stagnating. Surround yourself with them, and you risk catching this rigidity. You'll retreat into silence to avoid conflict, the grave of intellectual vitality. Epictetus warned, it is impossible to learn what you think you already know. The prerequisite for wisdom is humility, the empty cup. The know-it-all replaces the love of wisdom with the love of being right. Distance yourself from those who have cemented their minds shut. You need fellow travelers comfortable with mystery. Finally, a subtle figure wrapped in nostalgia, the stuck in the past, the keeper of your old version. They interact with who you were, not who you are. They bring up old mistakes, nicknames, immaturities. They are museum curators of your history, uneasy with your evolution because it forces them to update their mental model, a cognitive effort they refuse. Neuroscientifically, they are a powerful associative trigger. Your brain links them to old neural pathways. Around them, you may regress into past patterns. If you're building a new self, they create dissonance that burns energy and slows metamorphosis. Heraclitus said you cannot step into the same river twice. The stuck-in-the-past person denies this flux. They see you as a static object, not a dynamic process. By ignoring your growth, they invalidate your labor. The golem effect states we lower our performance to meet low expectations. If those closest expect the old you, you may dim your light to avoid confusing them. To live fully, you need witnesses to your future, not just archivists of your past. You need friends excited by your potential. Sometimes you simply outgrow people. It is not betrayal, it is loyalty to the person you are becoming. You cannot drive forward staring only into the rearview mirror. You cannot evolve if tethered to someone who loves the cocoon but fears the butterfly. As we conclude, I know this is profoundly difficult. Identifying archetypes is mental, removing them is visceral. It triggers primal alarms of tribe and safety. You will feel guilt, wondering if you're too harsh. Reframe this guilt as preservation. Consider Dunbar's number. We can only maintain stable bonds with about 150 people. With a true inner circle of 515, this capacity is finite. Every seat held by a cynic or drain is a seat a true mentor or inspiring friend cannot fill. By clinging to the wrong people, you block the right ones. You create a traffic jam where your growth cannot get through. We must also confront the fear of solitude. We tolerate bad company to avoid silence, but distinguish loneliness from solitude. Loneliness is the pain of being alone. Solitude is the glory of being alone. Solitude is the laboratory of the self. It is where you hear your own thoughts, where creativity and self-knowledge are born. Blaise Pascal noted that humanity's troubles stem from the inability to sit quietly alone. If you fill the room with degrading people to avoid silence, you will never meet yourself. You will live as a reaction, not an origin. Ultimately, social pruning is an act of supreme responsibility. You are the curator of your existence. Just as a gardener prunes dead leaves so sunlight reaches healthy buds, you must cut away connections devoid of mutual respect and growth. This is not malice toward them. It is love for your future self. It declares your peace of mind non-negotiable. The people you surround yourself with are the most significant variable in your life's equation. If you want the output to be happiness, meaning, and tranquility, you must have the courage to fix the inputs. Walk away from the drama. Walk away from the cynicism. Walk away from those who need you small so they can feel big. In the space they leave behind, you will find something more valuable than their approval. You will find your freedom. If this resonated, please like the video. It truly supports this channel, Mindshift Philosophy. It helps us continue this work.